What are things that you see authors do wrong all the time when it comes to covers, and how could they avoid doing those things?
So it's really hard to avoid this, but everyone, myself included, wants to do what they want to do rather than what is best for the book. Um, so there's market trends, and you can very clearly see market trends when you go to a bookstore or when you go to the Amazon bestseller list. Like there's very clear, this is what dystopians look like, or this is what fantasy books look like. And a lot of authors are like, that's nice, but this is my vision. And it's really hard when it's your book and it's your baby to just go with what everyone else is doing because you want to stand out. And that's the tricky thing with cover design. You always want to stand out, but you also want to
fit in.
Yeah. So it's like this really tricky thing. And all the time, I have a questionnaire that I have authors fill out, tell me about your book and what your vision is. And always, they have a very specific vision. So what I like to do is I give them 2 drafts. The first draft is the market trend draft. Here's what your book would look like. And then the second draft is here's what you want your book to look like. And a lot of the times, 9 times out of 10, we try to merge the 2 concepts.
I like that.
So
it's not going totally away from what they're picturing.
Yeah, because it's really tough. And for me, it's easier as a cover designer because it's not my book baby, and I can have an outsider's perspective. But even when I design my own book covers for myself, even though I'm a designer and I know all these things, it's always
still
really
hard.
oh, but no, this is my vision.
Yes.
Even go with the market trend.
It's so hard. I remember with my debut, and you've described this before, where it's you almost picture a scene in the book. A lot of authors literally are this chaotic. There's 10 pieces that you have to somehow fit in.
Yeah, and I always try to be the simpler the better. I've had authors give me bullet point lists of what they want on the cover, and I'm just okay, but let's dial it back a little bit.
Yeah, because it's it's so hard. Like you said, you got to fit in. And I think actually that was a question. Let me see if I can find it. Somebody was like, this is perfect. We're just going to bring up the Instagram question, one of them quickly. How do you blend in but stand out enough to get the reader's attention? So how do you strike that balance?
Yeah, so it really depends on the genre and what the trends are of the genre. 9 times out of 10, usually thriller has a very distinct font and fantasy has a very distinct font. So the first thing is you want to keep with the distinct style of font.
Makes sense.
And then maybe it's for fantasy, maybe there's one person on the cover, and then sometimes for dystopian we see multiple people on the cover, but it's far away and it's more silhouette style. So keep the big picture the same, but add the details and the color, maybe not necessarily the colors, but it's the details that are going to make your book pop and make it stand out. Maybe there's just a certain element that you add in that makes it stand out. So even though it meets and blends in with all the other covers on the bookshelf, there's something about it that still makes it pop. And it's definitely something hard to do because let's face it, at the end of the day, every single book cover is trying to accomplish this. So you can't just be oh, well, all the other book covers are boring, because they're not. Book covers hopefully aren't boring.
Yes, because you gotta think about the reader's perspective. That's what helps me, is you remind me of when a reader's going to pick your book, even if it blends in and it looks just like this other book. Well, what if they liked that other book? Then that's why they're going to buy your book, and that's what matters.
It's not a bad thing. That's the biggest thing that I've learned when I've learned about writing to market, is that I've heard a lot of people be oh, there's no such thing as an original story, but it's we like the stories we like for a reason. So if I like a fake dating romance, I have no shame continuing picking up the same fake dating romance trope.
Right. And if they try to twist it in the end, they didn't get together, you'd be mad. You'd be are you serious?
So it kind of works the same way. You know how readers have expectations? we have the same expectations for covers. So on that same note, you want to make sure when you're designing a cover, like I've had authors be like, oh, my book is historical and dystopian and sci-fi. And it's like, no. Like you gotta figure out what your major genre is, because we need to translate that through the cover. Because if people pick up the book thinking it's a dystopian and they read it and they're like, this is crap, this is a historical, they're going to give you a 1-star review, even if it's a good book, because it's not what they expected.
Such a good point. It's just, it all boils down to like, if you had to pick and you had to lean towards more like the genre or less like the genre, it sounds like we both lean more towards like fitting in than standing out.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's just not worth it to stand out if it means people aren't going to buy.
Exactly. Yeah, because we want people to be able to tell what the genre is before they even read the blurb. Like, they need to be able to look at the book cover and be like, oh, that's a sci-fi.
Yes, I love that.